racing, motocross, drag racing, and every other type of racing you can imagine. These venues are located in every state and in most of our congressional districts. Some issues we know that the racing industry is facing right now include long-standing tax issue to make the 7-year tax depreciation permanent. This will provide certainty and fairness compared to what other entertainment complexes already receive. I've been an original co-sponsor of legislation to make that permanent, as have the other two members that are joining me today. More than ever, the industry needs liability protection concerning COVID. It's my understanding that the Senate is working to include this in the next bill of COVID-related relief.
Looks like we lost him. We'll hopefully connect him one more time.
.66 miles per hour from Chesterfield, New Jersey. And then Brad Keselowski, NASCAR Cup driver, 2012 NASCAR champion, 32 career wins, 199 top 10s, and 17 career poles, hometown Rochester Hills, Michigan. The industry representatives joining us today are George Silverman, President of the Automobile Competition Committee for the United States, Roger Werner, Chairman of the Board of ACUS, Mike Helton, Vice Chairman of the National Association for Stock Car Racing, Jordan Gelati, Managing Director of Government and Community Affairs for NASCAR, Greg Motto, Executive Vice President, Accounting for NASCAR, Tracy Lee-Star-Smith, Senior Vice President and General Counsel of NASCAR, Jay Fry, President of IndyCar, Glenn Cromwell, President of the National Hot Rod Association, Casey Kohler, Vice President of NHRA, Josh Peterson, Vice President of NHRA, John Noonan, President of the International Motorsports Association, Mike Cobb, President of the Sports Car Club of America, Kevin Miller, President of the United States Auto Club, and Marcus Smith, President and CEO of Speedway Motorsports. I've long enjoyed racing from almost every perspective, and I'm delighted for any opportunity to promote the sport. So welcome to the Motorsports Caucus to briefly share what the motorsports industry is doing to help reopen America. I'd now like to turn it over to George Silverman, President of ACUS. George?
Thank you very much, Representative Posey, and thanks to everyone on the Congressional Motorsports Caucus as well. Our first guest speaker this morning will brief us on motorsports contributions during the pandemic and the leadership role U.S. motorsports has taken in restarting all major league sports in this country. Representative Posey already introduced him, so please join me in welcoming Mr. Mike Helton, Vice Chairman of NASCAR. Mike, the floor is yours. Mike, I think you may be on mute. You want to unmute yourself.
I was following Grace's instructions and forgot I was doing that, so sorry about that. But thank you for joining us today or allowing us to intervene into your world. Our world in motorsports industry was topsy-turvy and going back to March, and we, every day when we turn the TV on or pick up a newspaper or turn on our computers, we know how much you've got on your plates in Washington, D.C., so we appreciate you taking a few minutes to spend with us. And we kind of feel like we're preaching to the choir, but all three of you have been great supporters of the motorsports industry, and we're very grateful for that. And we're here to kind of remind you that any support or help or information you might need from us to continue that support, everybody in this call and everybody in the ACUS group is at your beck and call to help with all of that. When we shut down back in March, the entire motorsports industry, like the rest of the country, realized there was no handbook for this. There was nothing to turn to say, here's what you do. So it was on us. Nobody was going to come help. It was on all of America to figure this out, and each piece at a time take those steps to return. In the motorsports industry, obviously the first concern was their employees. You know, make sure that they're safe and sound and have some guidance as to what happens next. And then it was as much the support of our communities that we all live in or have facilities or offices and the like to support those communities like we would do on a typical entertainment weekend, but be mindful of the communities that we're in. And then it was a function of trying to figure out how to put your business model back together, which I think there's evidence in the motorsports world where we have been able to take the parts and pieces that are different in every community we participate in and make it work correctly, make it work safely, and make sense out of it, and give our industries the opportunity to go back together and the supporters of our industry to have something to say that, you know, these guys and gals are doing it right, and we're full supportive of it. And we've seen that throughout the motorsports industry as we've tried to figure out how to take one step at a time and bring our industry back as a business, as an economic impactor in the communities and the national level, but also simply as a business model and a form of entertainment for those who, when they have the opportunity, can participate in person, but also across the country and across the globe, participate in a form of entertainment that's driven by motorsports, and we're very proud of that. In the meantime, there's lemonade in all the lemons that you are dealt with, and what we saw very quickly across the motorsports industry was every individual and then every facility and every business entity became very, very personal. Our athletes like Brad and Antron were active in helping others, as they always are, but in this time was probably more important than ever. But the facilities across the board, there were so many unique opportunities from Daytona to Indianapolis to the drag strips, short tracks and road courses across the country, where those facilities could complement and fill a gap maybe that existed for folks along the way, serving as test centers, hosting different medical entities and allowing them to use the property to do tests, allowing the properties to be used for storage and collecting preparedness units across the country. And some of the more fun things, though, were the college or the high school graduation services that took place, like in Vegas and Texas and across the country, that got real creative. The schools got creative along with the racetracks and made a positive out of a tough hand of cards that we were dealt. And then on the more somber side, there were opportunities like at Indianapolis Motor Speedway where the facility could be used and the space could be used to pay tribute to members of the community that we may have lost along the way. So I think my message to you in brief is that we are what we are, and we're no different now than we were in February. Where we take great pride in the motorsports industry in this country being a fabric of America, and we will react and we will be very responsible for the things that we do. We have no appetite to do something that's not right. We will go to the extreme to follow national and local protocols and procedures along the way as we take our baby steps into putting our sport back together and delivering it across the country. So we take great pride in the seriousness that we take our responsibility, and we also take great pride in being a part of this country and of all the communities that we have the opportunity to participate in. So with that, again, I thank you for giving us a few minutes today to reach out to you, and thank you so much for your support in the past, but more importantly, anything that we can do help our cause along the way and help you be supporters of ours and continue to do that, then we appreciate that opportunity. And along the way, I hope we get to see all your faces face to face at a racetrack soon. Thanks, George.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike. Our next speaker will give us a driver's eye view of what it was like when the sport first shut down and during the shutdown. As Congressman Posey already mentioned, he's a three-time NHRA Top Fuel World Champion, driving for the powerful Don Schumacher team. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Antron Brown. Antron?
Thanks, George.
Okay.
I got it on mute. Thank you. And thank you for letting me be a part of this. And just being part of the motorsports community is a big part of it. And Congressman, and for one thing, for us on the NHRA side, when things first hit, it hit hard at home, because I remember we were distinctly in Gainesville, Florida, and I was down there near Daytona doing a tool truck ride on Mackel's tool truck, and then I got the phone call that our race got canceled, where we actually literally just flew straight home from there, and it was just felt like everything was just crumbling down. But I know one thing is, once we got back and we regrouped, I know for us at Don Schumacher Racing, back at our home stable, we just thought about, okay, how do we just keep going? And then we reached out to all of our partners, and all of our partners all got involved. And then we talked to Glenn Cromwell and everybody at NHRA, our NHRA president, and all of the staff over there, and formulated a plan of how do we get through this together. And I know for one thing for sure is that at Don Schumacher Racing, we all implemented where we started making face shields in our machine shops. Our machine shops stopped pushing out race car parts, and we started pushing out parts and pieces that we could help to make the cause better for all of America. And it was scary times, without a doubt, because there was a lot of uncertainty that all of us went through in the motorsports arena. And being here in Indianapolis, we just looked at the culture of, like, just from the fans' perspective and all the people that support us throughout the whole thing, where they support us and saying, it's going to be all right. We're in with you together, and we just want to get through it together. And that's when we came out with our post of being stronger together, that we're all in this together. And as we started going through it, and I know our sport made a bold statement that we're not coming back unless we had fans. And when we just had these last two races here in Indy within the last 2 weeks in July, and we came back with fans in the stands, and how to see how people just communicate, where we had the distancing in the pits, where the fans were walking up and down, everybody wasn't allowed in the pits or into the racetrack without a mask, where we're able to follow that protocol, and everybody were staying safe and being cautious, but yet having a good time by bringing motorsports back on the map, where they could just not see it on TV, where they can actually see it in person. And that right there, really, when we saw the fans coming from abroad, from the West Coast, from the East Coast, traveling because they missed their motorsports, and actually being able to see not just the fans enjoy it, but all of our employees and all of our crew members. And that was just a struggle in itself, to see their emotions get lifted back by being back at the racetrack, because there was uncertainty if they were going to even have jobs. And at DSR, I mean, Don employs probably over 140 employees here in Indianapolis at the DSR base, and we haven't let not one of them laid off or let go, where we made it through this, through all the helps that we have through our partners to actually make it happen and to get back to the racetrack. I tell you one thing is that it definitely was a sigh of relief, but we know we still have a road ahead of us, but we're working through it together. So whatever we could do on our part, from our race teams through NHRA as a whole, that we're all in. And I think that all of our sports, I've been seeing, I even watched a couple midget races and went and saw them personally, and just support one another. And I know that we're all in this together, and whatever we can do, I mean, we're all open. So I just want to appreciate everybody for just coming together to actually bring in motorsports back and to get to where we need to be. And just to reiterate what Mike said is that, man, whatever we can do, we're there for each and every one of you. So I just want to thank you for your time. If there's anything I can do, I'm wide open, and I just appreciate each and every one of you.
Great. Thank you very much, Antron.
All right.
Our next guest will give us an insider story of what it was like when he and his Penske Cup team returned to racing as restrictions in some areas began to ease. As Representative Posey said, he's a NASCAR Cup champion. This season, as a multi-time winner already, he's locked into the playoffs. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Brad Keselowski. Brad, the floor is yours.
Thank you, George, and good morning. Just before I start, I'll make sure everybody can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, first off, I want to say the Congressional Motorsports Caucus is an invaluable tool for dialogue between NASCAR, all forms of motorsports, and our United States government. So I want to say thank you to congressmen and congresswomen who are joining us today, specifically Congressman Posey, Hudson, and Baird. We appreciate your time. And to the staffers for joining and making this possible. Thank you, Grace, for coordinating. I know how difficult that can be in today's world to keep all this technology flowing. So thank you for making that happen. To those congressmen and women that might watch this post, we appreciate you joining as well. In the fairness of time, I might repeat a few of the things already said by a few of the previous participants here. Please forgive me in doing so. But I'd like to introduce a little bit who I am. I wear 4 hats. The first hat, of course, as Congressman Posey explained, is a NASCAR driver. I've competed in NASCAR at the top series level now for 11 seasons, and I'm very thankful to have that role, having won the 2012 NASCAR championship. And of course, since we've returned back to action, 2 of the races, which we're very proud of as a team. I drive for Roger Penske, who many of you might know recently was awarded the Congressional medal from the president. We're very honored to be a part of that for his work in motorsports, business, and philanthropy. I wear another hat outside of NASCAR as a business owner that has several defense contracts that are DPAS rated and advanced applications for our military. Very thankful for that role as well, and have got to know some of you intimately through that process. The third hat I wear is through my foundation, Checker Flag Foundation, which has a mission statement as a 501c3 to honor those who've made great sacrifices for the community. We have a number of initiatives that benefit both our active and retired military, our veterans, along with our first responders. As it's played out through the case of the pandemic, we've had the opportunity to do a number of great initiatives, much like what Antron was discussing earlier with face shields and things of the nature to help support our local community and our national efforts. So I'm very thankful for that role. And then the fourth role, which plays a key role in my daily life, is that of a father and a husband, wife to Paige, and or husband to Paige. Paige is my wife, and father of 2 children under the age of 5, which is a bit of a handful considering my other 3 roles. But of course, with everything going on in the pandemic, everyone knows how difficult that can be with schooling and so forth. So I've come to you today wearing 3 of those hats: the hat of a race car driver, a foundation president, and a father in this discussion. I think it's pretty well stated that we're living in fairly unprecedented times, locally, nationally, globally. And for NASCAR and all forms of motorsports, we're trying to quickly adapt to remain sustainable. With the support of local and national authorities, we've returned to action under a new model, as Mr. Helton was hoping to explain. In NASCAR's case, this means meeting or exceeding CDC and legislative bodies' recommendations and guidelines for remaining safe and slowing the spread of COVID-19. I feel that to date, this has been very well received within our community and implemented. A few of the examples, as George was asking for me at the beginning of this dialogue, would be the limitation of travel to the day of events, where previously we might have traveled to a community 2 or 3 days in advance. For me now, that means traveling the day of. Self-isolation while at the track. One of the things about NASCAR and for its drivers specifically, is we don't specifically have a locker room. So for me, that means we have a traveling motor coach. And when I get to the racetrack, I go right to the motor coach and quarantine inside of it. There's no locker room type setup. And I think probably the third thing that really stands out to me is the cancellation of mass gathering events where a 6-foot radius cannot be obtained. Fortunately for us in the motorsports community, we have very large venues. You look at the venues, whether it be in Daytona, Florida, Indianapolis, Indiana, or in Charlotte, North Carolina, that are represented here today. Very massive facilities that really allow us to be spread out and to have safe practices that fit these guidelines. So we're very proud of that. So as you can see, certainly motorsports has several advantages compared to other sports in the midst of this pandemic. And those advantages have afforded a safe and I think well-received return by not only the drivers, but all the teams, the sanctioning body, and local authorities. These examples I listed are not all of our recent changes, but rather a small sample of the new model that we think has been very effective. I think much has been said to the physical damage caused to our country by the spread of COVID-19. That said, we're still learning of the mental health effect towards our current measures that we've undertaken. If we can all agree that mental and physical health are connected and that COVID-19, along with measures to prevent its spread, have done damage to both, perhaps we can see the extreme value of safely ran sporting events. Not only does the sustainability of motorsports mean a great deal to many prominent American businesses that are represented here today and some that are not, it more importantly also provides a livelihood to tens of thousands of families, American families, who are employed. Myself and my family is one of those. And I think about that and I say, most importantly, it offers something that is hard to quantify. And that's the joy that it gives to the millions of fans that watch day in and day out, whether it be on TV or in some cases in limited capacity on site, as we were discussing earlier. I feel that's so desperately needed and that those people need a reason to smile and find joy at this time in their lives. In this light, I strongly encourage and support the Congressional Motorsports Caucus and all of Congress to engage with one another to both retain and find new measures of sustainability for the future of motorsports. It's really a critical time for our sport, much like it is for many other initiatives in our world today. And I want to say thank you for making that time and for taking that time today to join us in these initiatives. And please, as Antron said, I join in with him. If you have any questions or requests from me, let us know. With that, I'll give the floor back to George.
Great. Thank you very much, Brad. Now we'll briefly touch upon 3 key issues that are of importance to the motorsports industry today. Representative Posey already mentioned them, but we'll give a quick top-line overview of each. The first is the tax depreciation classification for motorsports facilities. And to brief us on that is NASCAR Executive Vice President Greg Motto. Greg, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, George, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. Thank you all, congressmen and congresswomen who are joining us today. Thank you for your service and support through this challenging time. Obviously, this has been an extraordinarily challenging time for NASCAR, for all motorsports, for all stakeholders in motorsports, as it has for every American. The economic losses to the motorsports industry have been significant. But our restart has been extraordinary as well, as our previous speakers have explained this. It's difficult to quantify the economic impact of our return to racing, but we know from our fans, from our local communities, from our teams and drivers, from our sponsors, and from our television ratings that NASCAR is providing an extremely valuable and entertaining experience to millions of Americans. Yet the effects of our spectator-free races and the cancellation of our events is devastating to our surrounding communities. Local businesses are not visited by fans, and service workers are not contracted by tracks to support the operations. Those of you who have worked with us know that there's a tax depreciation provision related to motorsports facilities that will expire at the end of this year. unless it is again extended or made permanent. Like other sports, motorsports facilities require significant capital investment. However, unlike other sports for which facilities are often built in partnership with American taxpayers, motorsports facilities are privately funded without government assistance. So since 1986 tax reform, our motorsports facilities have depreciated assets in the same manner as theme and amusement parks under Class 80 of the IRC. This policy allows all assets inside our facilities to depreciate over a 7-year period. We use this accelerated cost recovery to make safety improvements and upgrade our fan experience at our properties. In 2004, after questions were raised by the IRS over the asset classification, Congress acted to clarify that a 7-year depreciation period was indeed appropriate for motorsports facilities. This is included in Section 168 of the current tax code, referred to as the Motorsports Entertainment Complex. Congress has extended this tax treatment several times since 2004, including most recently in 2019, which were provided retroactive application from 2018. However, this legislation, as I just mentioned, is set to expire at the end of 2020. A permanent resolution of this tax treatment is a significant relief measure for the motorsports industry. This tax treatment has previously been vetted and regularly extended with bipartisan support. Clarity for future tax obligations is critical as motorsports facility owners make decisions on future investments and capital upgrades. This is especially important following a dramatic economic downturn. We're hopeful there will be an opportunity to address this issue in any upcoming relief measures. We especially thank you and ask you for your continued support. And as the others have said, we're here to assist in recovery measures any way we can with our resources and with our facilities. George, I turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. The second of our three main topics is fair and equitable relief for motorsports nonprofits, particularly in these trying times of COVID-19. To brief us on that this morning is NHRA Vice President Casey Kohler. Casey?
Thank you, George. And thank you, Representative Posey, for your leadership of the Motorsports Caucus. Thank you, Representative Hudson and Representative Baird, for your continued leadership, both in Congress, but also on the motorsport front. As George talked about, the CARES Act that was passed. First off, a huge thank you as Antron spoke about the fact that they have not had to lay off any of their employees, and a number of teams that were able to remain in business through this time was because of that CARES Act. The one challenge that we have amongst three of the members of the ACUS leadership is the fact that we're not for profits and we fall under that 501c6 or 501c4 umbrella, which was not recognized in that Paycheck Protection Program. So as we look forward and we look at the upcoming fall and winter, we'd like to make sure that our organizations are able to weather the storm that we have brewing, and the ability to retain our employees and start to plan for greener pastures in 2021. So as we look at the future and the future stimulus packages that are out there, we really would like to look and make sure that 501c6s as well as 501c4s are recognized under that umbrella. So we thank you for your leadership. We thank you for your time, and we make ourselves available any way we can support those efforts. Thanks.
And thank you, Casey. Our last key topic is tax deductibility for corporate meals and entertainment. And to brief us on that is the President and CEO of Speedway Motorsports, Mr. Marcus Smith. Marcus?
Thank you, George. Yes, our hope is that we'd be able to obtain a new tax law that would allow full tax deductibility for business meals and entertainment at sporting events and facilities. And the overview of that is that the 2017 tax law took away the deduction for meals or for entertainment. Prior to 2017, the rules taxpayers could deduct 50% of meals and entertainment and amusement. Under the new law, the meals deduction remained there, but no deduction for any item generally considered to constitute entertainment, amusement, or recreation existed. President Trump has called for a return to full deductibility for business, entertainment, and meal expenses. Our company, Speedway Motorsports, owns 8 facilities around the country, and all of our events employ thousands and thousands of people and small businesses around the country. And when you look at this deductibility, it generally skews to the idea that big corporations can deduct their expenses for a boondoggle. But what this really is about is supporting Joe and Jill America. It's supporting small business, because literally millions of people are employed by events around the country. And our events, whether it's golf events, NASCAR, NHRA, the music events, and other car events that we host, employ food and beverage vendors. They employ tent companies, generator businesses, equipment rental companies. And all of these things are supported by corporations going to these events and entertaining their customers, and sponsorship elements that really help the full economic picture of events when you look at our business. So our company has about 1,100 employees, but we affect over 1 million people across the country that rely on us to host our events. We didn't qualify for the PPP money, and so I can tell you from our perspective, having a change back to allowing full tax deductibility for business meals and entertainment would make a huge positive impact on our business. And I think across the country, when you look at how it might impact everyday people that are looking to get back to work and whether cook a meal for a few hundred people or a few thousand people and serving us in different ways. And another big area that all of our events impact is in the nonprofit world. The nonprofits have been hit hard during this time, and what I mean is that every event that we host, we ask nonprofits to help us put the event on, working our parking lots, working concession stands, staffing security areas, and gates for credential checking. All of those people have been eliminated in the current situation, and so the quicker that we can get our events back going, having people and companies come and enjoy themselves at our events, every bit of friction we can help eliminate to get that back going strong will actually help all those nonprofits as well. So a lot of people don't realize how far-reaching these big events can be, but they reach into every part of the community, and the nonprofit and all of those people and the margins that they support, and small business people that are hoping to work our events and have really built their annual business plan on working our events throughout the year.
Great. Thank you very much, Marcus. We appreciate that. And thanks to all the speakers today. Representative Posey, we really appreciate you letting us be part of today's caucus virtual briefing. And now, as they say in sports car racing, we have a scheduled driver change on this pit stop. So I'm going to turn the race car back over to you, Congressman Posey. Well, some pit stops are a little longer than others. Grace, is the congressman still with us?
Yes, it looks like he's reconnecting really fast. He's been having some Wi-Fi issues in his office. I'm going to go check in and see if I can get him back on. Thanks for your patience, everyone.
Okay. And that is part of the drama of motorsports. Sometimes pit stops don't go exactly to plan, and that factors into how the race goes.
You turn me on. All right, we ready?
We are.
You hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Can we take
We
some
can.
questions? Thank you, George. Can we take some questions? Just, Mike Cobb, I noticed on the video that we played at the beginning, there was quite a bit of amateur racing involved there. And I'm just curious what it's been like for the local grassroots racers during the pandemic on the amateur level.
Sure. It's been pretty challenging across the March, April, May time period. We had to cancel approximately 450, 500 events. Those events are executed through 115 plus volunteer chapters across the U.S. So that was quite a challenge for those local regions. It was obviously a challenge for us as a national staff to kind of support that. We kind of pivoted our focus during that point in time from event management to I guess more of a crisis management mode, just like most of the team members around ACUS moved to create CV mitigation processes, procedures, et cetera. We slowly got our feet back in the water, started wading back in the water as markets opened up in June. And since that time, we've had a growing amount of success to hold events safely in markets, working with local jurisdiction, making sure that we meet and exceed all local, county, state, federal requirements with regard to safe events. And so we're slowly getting back in the game. Unfortunately for us, we're built as a 501c4, so we were not a beneficiary of PPP, so we did need to furlough some folks, but as of June 1st, we have those folks that we had to furlough, we have them back on staff, and we're looking forward to continuing full employment and full support as markets continue to open across the balance of the year. Thank you for asking.
Yes, and the PPP exemption or exclusion for nonprofits, that was a pretty big argument up here. I mean, and one example that we use were chambers of commerce. They're almost all nonprofit. Yes. And we're saying, listen, let the cheerleaders for business, let the people out front promoting business. How can you not make them? Well, they couldn't. And I don't want to go into all the dynamics of how that happened. But sad to say, there's a large portion of Congress that does not want this government to reopen. I think you guys are well aware of that. And the PPP, they wanted to make sure that there was more than enough rebate for people who don't put in bait in the first place. And that's how the nonprofits basically got excluded. Antron, how have you managed your relationship with your sponsors during this crazy season?
Congress Posey, we do numerous things. It's been really unique and dynamic relationship where we had to dig deep, like on the social media side, from doing different. I became a motivational speaker for a lot of my sponsors for their companies, where they actually called me up and I was the uplift cheerleader. I turned into an uplifting cheerleader instead of driving a race car, but whatever it takes, we're willing to do. And also creating new ways of business from them, because a lot of people don't realize in motorsports now is not just sticking a brand on the side the race car. We actually do B2B business where we connect other companies with other companies that we're partnered with and figure out a dynamic way that they can actually collaborate and actually come together where we can actually build them. And it's like a direct return. And with everything being shut down where we can't bring those relationships to the racetrack and cultivate that, it was a difficult time, because it's not the old school deal. I wish it was back in the day where we just do side commercials and we're on billboards and we stack a sticker and people watch on TV. We win a race and it's gone. Racing now for all motorsports, it's a dynamic business where we're working with one another to build their brand, but not just to build their brand, but where they could get a direct return on their monies that they're putting forth to our race team. So for us, we've been doing different things of like learning what our sponsors need in the trying time where their percentage of their businesses went down. And we find other ways to say, okay, well, we're going to tie you in over here because we're going to make this and make X, Y, and Z, but we're going to make you a part of that. And like, okay, we can do that. So with Matco, one of our tool companies, I've been on the phone each and every week and doing different shows and bringing people there and just talking to some of our distributors on how to continue through this hard times and what they're doing, and sharing that knowledge with other distributors so they can actually understand how they can keep their business afloat and going. So it's been a very dynamic, unique time, but it's just one of those deals where we're putting our head down and we're finding other ways to keep it going until we get back to our new normal.
Awesome. That's good to hear, actually. So when we get back to normal, whatever normal is going to be,
Yes.
you have an expanded business. Mike Helton, speaking of new normals, what do you see as the new normal, and what can we do to help you get there?
Well, Congressman, I appreciate that question, because I don't know that we know what the new normal is. And we internally caution ourselves of even using the word normal, because I think we've got to recreate everything that we were used to that we would call to be normal. So I think the definition of our new models is yet to come. I think we're defining them every day, every weekend as we go back to racing and we deliver our entertainment products across the country. And as far as help from you and your cohorts, I think the things we talked about today are instrumental. I think the depreciation part for our facilities to be able to maintain themselves and be prepared for us to put our races on publicly. I think the economic support that we can get through sponsorships and the business relationships we have are and those stimulus that their involvement at the events contribute so much to the economic muscle of our communities across the country that we go to, are complemented by the deductibility of the entertainment money that they spend to support an event. And so those types of things, and in the short term, the ability for the nonprofits to be included in some of the programs that may be used to stimulate and keep the legs underneath the infrastructure as we know it. Those are the items I think that we look to you for help for. And along the way, between North Carolina, Florida, and Indiana, those are hotbeds in our industry. So the three of you are great hosts, you're great supporters, and we appreciate the help that you give us. But thank you for asking for what you could do, and we say the same to you. Tell us what we can do to help you represent us, because you do that very well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Congressman Hudson, question?
I appreciate that. And Bill, thanks for putting this together. Thanks for your great leadership. I'd just like to say from the beginning, thank you to everyone who's on this call. I'm honored to be associated with motorsports industry and to support you because of what you mean to our communities from an economic standpoint. But as Mr. Helton said, you are the fabric of America. And I thank you for what you do every day. Thank you particularly for what you do to honor our veterans and our military. I was proud to join Brad, I guess late last year at the hospital in Concord. His Checkered Flag Foundation has got a program where they honor veterans who are in the hospital. There's countless things that this industry does to honor our veterans and our military, and it's much appreciated. And thank you for what you've been doing during this COVID crisis. Some of the things that were mentioned, producing face shields, the race teams, even the NASCAR Technology Center was producing face shields. I'm proud that NASCAR was the first professional sport to partner with the healthcare providers to provide testing at the tracks. Just so many things. The graduation ceremonies have just been tremendous. Thank you for all you're doing. And I guess the question I was thinking of is sort of building on what Bill said. What are kind of lessons learned from this time for the sport? Because really, motorsports has led the way. You're the first professional sport to be up and running, first to have fans. I was just thrilled to see iRacing and how well that was received and the ratings and just the fan interest in that. What are some of the things that you think are maybe changes going forward? And, I would ask Mike, Jay, anybody that, thinking about this in terms of, what are some innovations that you've had to do that you may be interested in keeping, like iRacing or the NASCAR schedule where you race the same track on a Sunday and a Wednesday, or any of these things you think we might see going forward?
Well, Jay, I'll take it, and but you ought to weigh in from your world as well, because Richard, you know our sport. All three of you know our sport really well, but Richard, you're kind of in amongst the family in North Carolina there, so you get a sense for the uniqueness of motorsports to start with, and now you add this pandemic to it, and it's going to change the way we do business, whether we go straight like Antron does, or round in circles, or around road courses like Brad and others do. It's going to change. What I think you'll see is we've learned efficiencies from the model that we put together to go back to racing. We also learned the use of technology, which is in everybody's domain now. But I never realized how bad I looked on camera until I started having all these daggone meetings like this. But whoever thought that you could do these types of communications and do this much work without travel or that expense attached to it. So I think there's a lot of things we're going to learn, but fundamentally, at the end of the day, what motorsports does is put race cars on racetracks, and that won't be any different. How we do that, the technology we use, the efficiencies that we may have to apply going forward, all of those are the things we're going to learn from this moment. But at the end of the day, putting race cars on racetracks is what we do, and that's our mainstay.
I don't know if Jay or Glenn or anybody else had any thoughts on that.
I think, Jay, you were on mute when you started to answer that question.
Yeah. Jay, you're on mute.
Nah, still not working. Technical difficulty. It happens in racing sometimes.
Yeah.
Representative Posey, did you have some additional questions?
I could ask questions all day, but we're getting ready to turn into pumpkin time, and well, let me just ask squeeze one more in here. Congressman Hudson, are you there?
I yield back to the chairman.
Thank you. We in Congress have seen that many of the facilities
Uh-oh.
I think you locked up there, Bill.
All right, you're back.
think you might need to repeat the question, sir, because you froze for a
uh,
second.
Oh, okay. We've noticed that they've used a lot of the facilities you raised at for COVID testing sites. And I was just wondering how that worked out.
Hi, Congressman. This is Marcus Smith, and our speedways have served as COVID testing starting very early this spring. We worked with Atrium Health in Charlotte and set up and still have a testing site at ZMAX Dragway and Charlotte Motor Speedway that serves the northeast side of the Charlotte region. We have also worked at our other 7 facilities with the hospitals and been ready for larger testing sites, and it's gone well. You know, I think every day we have people come in. It's by appointment in the Charlotte area. But they seem to be making a lot of appointments, and since we're used to handling a lot of people and handling a lot of throughput, we can certainly do more. So if the interest is there from the healthcare community to do more large-scale testing, that would be something that I think speedways across the country are uniquely suited for large-scale events, because we know how to move thousands and hundreds of thousands of people.
Very good. Well, George, would you like to make closing?
Again, just on behalf of everyone who had a chance to participate today, we truly appreciate everything you and the caucus have done and continue to do. We look for your leadership going forward, and to reiterate what almost everyone on this call said, we are also here for you. So please let us know anything we can do to help you in your endeavors.
Well, thank you very much, George. I want to thank Antron Brown and Brad Kozlowski, and of course you and Jordan Gelati, and all of the industry leaders from ACUS, NASCAR, IndyCar, NHRA, IMSA, IMS, SCCA, USAC, and Speedway Motorsports for participating today. Of course, I want to thank Congressman Hudson and Congressman Baird for joining us and helping us out as well. Great members that are at every Motorsports Caucus meeting we have. You can depend on those two to be there and be active and help spread the great word about motorsports. We appreciate all of you taking the time out of your busy schedule to help the caucus learn more about what the motorsports industry is doing to help reopen America, and what we can do to help you reopen America and reopen motorsports. God bless you all, and God bless America. Looking forward to the next time we get together, hopefully with less technical issues. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
America.
Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Congressman. Appreciate you.